It started with the music. A cheerful, looping track began playing while my screen was still completely black. It lasted longer than usual, and when the world finally did appear, it wasn't the instant pop-in I was used to in Roblox. Instead, it crawled into existence piece by piece. Floating platforms materialized in midair, textures popped in late, and the skybox flickered like it couldn't decide what color it was supposed to be. At first, I just thought it was lag, the kind you just shrug off, but everyone else was already moving, chatting, jumping around on platforms that, for me, were still semi-transparent. I tried to take a step forward, but my avatar just hovered over nothing, suspended in the air because the collision hadn't loaded yet. Looking down, I could see straight through the map to the raw geometry stretching endlessly below grids, and placeholder shapes exposed like bones under skin. I tapped in the chat, asking if anyone else's game was broken. All I got back were laughing emojis and messages telling me to reset, calling me slow. While they all ran ahead, I just stood there, watching the world assemble itself around me, like a stage crew that didn't realize the audience was already watching. And that's when I saw the first message. It wasn't in the chat or on any UI element. It was carved directly into the empty space where a wall was supposed to be. Bright white developer text floating in the void. It read, "This should not be visible." My stomach tightened. I knew that font. It was the default placeholder text used during early builds. Just as I registered it, the wall finally loaded over the message, making it vanish as if it had never been there. I told myself it was just a strange glitch, but then it happened again. Further into the map, a staircase hadn't finished loading yet, and I could see another message written along the edge of a platform, "Remove before release." This time, I tried to take a screenshot, but the moment I hit the key, the texture snapped into place, erasing the text. My screenshot just showed a normal, orange staircase. I realized then that whatever I was seeing only existed while the map was unfinished. During those few brief seconds when the world wasn't ready yet, from that day on, I stopped resetting when the game lagged. Instead, I waited, and every time I did, the loading delay got worse, but the messages got clearer, longer, and more specific. It felt like the map was slowly trusting me with secrets it hid from everyone else. One time, I spawned in so early that the skybox hadn't even loaded at all. I was just floating in a gray void with UI elements hovering around me, and written across the horizon in massive letters was a message that said, "Player count does not include you." I laughed nervously, assuming it was some old, abandoned developer joke. But then I checked the player list. My username flickered, disappeared, then reappeared at the bottom, like the game couldn't decide where I belonged. As the map loaded in, the message faded, replaced by colorful buildings and NPCs who acted like nothing was wrong. I tried to get a friend to join me to see if they noticed anything. When they spawned in, their map loaded instantly, perfectly complete. When I told them about the messages, they just said I was messing with them, that everything on their end looked normal. I almost believed them until the day the map loaded so slowly that I could walk into areas before they even existed. I stepped across invisible floors, watching props and walls drop into place beneath my feet, like I was outrunning reality itself. In one unfinished room, I found a wall of text stretching from floor to ceiling. It was lines and lines of developer notes, discussions about memory limits, server stability, player retention, and then, buried near the bottom, a single line made my chest tighten. A player sees this. Loading has failed. And right beneath it, newer text, written in the same font, but shakier, less confident. If you can read this, do not reset. I froze. That second message wasn't from early development. It was from someone who knew players weren't supposed to be here yet. Someone who was expecting a player like me. Just then, the room finished loading. The wall turned solid, the text disappeared, and I was trapped inside a normal-looking room as if nothing had happened. When I left that server and joined another game by the same creator, the exact same thing happened again. The late loading, the exposed geometry, the hidden messages. It wasn't tied to one map. It was tied to me. I started to wonder if my account was corrupted, if some flag had been set during a crash or an update. That made the game engine treat me differently. Was it loading me last, or maybe first? The messages started to change tone. They became less technical and more personal. I saw things like, "You are a test case, and we did not expect you to wait." The longer I stayed in the loading phase, the more unfinished things I saw. NPCs stood without faces, animations were frozen mid-frame, and scripts scrolled visibly in the air before snapping out of sight. Once, I saw an entire section of the map labeled cut content, complete with notes explaining why it was removed. As the map finished loading, that entire area just vanished, replaced by a blank wall. It felt like the game was showing me its discarded thoughts, everything it had been told to forget. The scariest part was when the messages started responding to me, not directly, but indirectly. One time, I typed hello into the chat. Before the chat box even finished loading, I saw a message etched into an unloaded floor tile that read, WAIT. So I did. I stood there while everyone else ran ahead, and the world slowed down even more, loading even later than before. Eventually, I spawned into nothing at all. Pure darkness except for floating developer UI panels. And in front of me, written large enough to fill my entire screen, was a message that said, "You are loading too early." Then, another line appeared beneath it. "There is nitrogen monoxide placed for you yet." I tried to move, but my avatar just drifted slightly, not fully initialized. Then I saw something I'd never seen before, a list of usernames scrolling past in the void. Names I recognized from the server, fading out one by one as players left. Next to each name, a status message appeared, loaded, complete, ready. And next to my name, blinking slowly, was the word pending. I realized that night for some reason, the game no longer considered me a finished player. I was perpetually stuck in the loading phase, half player, half placeholder. When the map finally did snap into place, the NPCs began acting strangely around me. Their dialogue boxes appeared late. Their animation started halfway through, like they were loading me instead of the other way around. One NPC even greeted me by saying, "Sorry for the wait," a line I had never, ever seen before. As days passed and updates rolled out, the messages became more desperate, less polished. I saw frantic notes like, "We can't roll this back," and players should have reset. Then, during one especially long load, I saw the final message, burned into the unfinished ground beneath my feet. The map loads late because IT is waiting for you. When the world finally appeared that time, everything felt slightly off. The textures were softer, the colors were duller, the NPCs moved slower. It was like the game had rebuilt itself around my delay, accommodating me. I noticed that new players who joined after me loaded in instantly, perfectly, while I remained just a fraction of a second behind, always watching things appear instead of just assuming they were already there. I stopped playing other games. None of them loaded like this. None of them showed me what they were trying to hide. Now, when I join a server, I don't mind the darkness at the start. I don't mind watching the world come together piece by piece. Because in those moments, before the map finishes loading, before all the messages disappear, I feel like I'm standing somewhere I'm not supposed to be. Somewhere between a player and a developer, in a place where the game is finally being honest. And sometimes, right before everything snaps into place, I see one last line flash beneath my feet. It's too quick to screenshot, but clear enough for me to read. And it always says the same thing, "Please finish loading." But I never do, because I'm afraid of what will happen when the game finally decides I belong. Thanks for listening. If you like this story, be sure to follow for more.